The Miami Hurricanes are doomed. The season's over. I'm just kidding. What's going on, Canes fans? Look, I just wanted to take a few minutes and talk about the outlook on the rest of the season and just overall thoughts on what happens from here. Because apparently there are quite a few people upset over what I said about the loss. I understand that there are a lot of places that put out the statement, a loss is what the Miami Hurricanes needed to fix this season. And I put out a statement on their statement and said that I think that's BS. I believe that's coping, and I think that's loser talk. And I still stand by the statement that I made. But I do want to come on here and just clear some things up because maybe I didn't really say everything that needed to be said. I was not able to explain exactly what I meant with that statement. So let me start by saying this. Number one, the season is obviously not over. I never said that. Everything is still pretty much in play at this point in time. Now, here in a few minutes, they're going to be releasing the new CFP rankings. So at the time of filming this, I am not aware of where Miami is because they haven't actually announced it yet. The ACC championship is still in play. Miami owns the tiebreaker when it comes to Clemson. Even if Clemson wins out, they have a common opponent. Clemson lost to Louisville. Miami beat Louisville. And Virginia did Miami a favor and beat Pitt. So that means the end goal here with making an ACC championship game appearance and trying to win it and pushing for the CFP is still a reality. It could still actually happen. Miami just needs to win out. You have 2 games left, a bad Wake Forest team, and Syracuse, so you have to be careful. They like to throw the ball around. But Miami should, keyword should, win both of those games. So that is still absolutely in play. I mean, an even worse case scenario. This won't happen, but let's say Miami loses to Wake Forest and Syracuse. That's 9-3. That's still technically, purely talking wins and losses here, a positive step forward. But realistically, you're probably looking at 11-1 with the game. So the game still happened this season, just like every single season, like we talk about. The game Miami shouldn't have lost, and they found a way to do it anyway. So if it was 11-1 regular season, that's still a huge accomplishment, and that overachieves a little bit for my realistic expectations, which were 10-2. Now, don't think that I'm coming on here and trying to explain myself or backpedaling for what I said about the loss. I already said it. I 100% stand firm in the paint, and that is my stance. I think that winning is the best thing to happen, and I don't believe that losing was the answer. I know that everyone is on here saying, well, yeah, Coop, but that's going to wake up the team, that they needed that, and now they're going to play with more urgency. They already had the wake-up calls. They had the 25-point deficit against Cal, down 11 to Duke, having to come back in the fourth quarter, almost losing to Virginia Tech. Those were the wake-up calls. The point I've been trying to make for the past several days is that the issues are deeper than a wake-up call. There's obviously some things offensively. People say, Coop, you're not pointing the finger at, Cam Ward always looking for the big play. Maybe Dawson, improving a little more with the play calling. Of course, all of those are issues as well. But the biggest issues are on defense. And I just think that it's too deep into the season to see a massive change. You're not going to see him totally change the scheme or anything real crazy. So I'm just saying that it's not. Look, the guys aren't missing tackles because there's no sense of urgency. Guys aren't struggling with figuring out motion because they're not locked in. These are things that we knew were going to be an issue going into the season, and it's kind of rearing its ugly head a bit here during this season. And we've been lucky that the team has been able to scrape by and the offense has come out, scoring big points, and they've been able to find ways to win these games. Georgia Tech, unfortunately, they came up short, and it just wasn't able to happen. But this is not a surprise. This is not something that we didn't anticipate. This is something we've already seen, especially once ACC play started. It's been close games. It's been tough games, maybe minus the Florida State game. Outside of that, they've been relatively close. But it's not me backpedaling. I think that it would have been better for them to win against Georgia Tech, and I think that you're going to see them bounce back against Wake Forest, but I think they would have played well and beat Wake Forest regardless. I don't think you needed to lose to Georgia Tech to go into the bye week and then play Wake Forest really well. I think you should have beat Georgia Tech, and then you should have had the bye week, and then you should have beat the heck out of Wake Forest. I don't think it took a loss because that's what it's going to be, right? It's going to be they come out and they play Wake Forest really well, final home game of the season. They're going to probably beat them by let's say 14 to 21 points plus, and then people are going to say, see, they needed that wake-up call. They needed to say, yo, we've got to get better. And it's really just going to be Miami is the better team, and they take care of Wake Forest regardless. So I would have rather have been all wins versus having that one loss dangling over their head and going into the Wake Forest game. But it is what it is. The thing is, the frustration from a lot of people is they don't want to see Miami waste one of the best offenses statistically that Miami has had in a very, very long time. So it's extra frustrating when the defense is not really playing up to the level that people would like, even if you expected it, right? Lance Guidry, needs to take a look in the mirror. He needs to change some things up. The biggest thing that Miami can hope for at this point is guys returning from injury, like maybe seeing Austin come back, having Damari Brown back obviously would be huge. But Miami is going to continue to give up explosive plays on defense, and it's going to be an issue for the rest of the season, for the conference championship game if they make it, and in the playoffs. But we know that. That's the thing. It's not a surprise. It's nothing new. And again, a loss, in my opinion, does not fix it. Now, let's be real here for a second. Obviously, there are scenarios where a loss can motivate some guys. Like, I'm not denying that. I think that's the thing is so many people said, Coop, you're not looking at the fact that, there were a lot of guys that said, Coop, you ain't never played football, so you don't know what it's like. We lost a game. I remember they gave some scenario, right? I remember we lost this game, and we came out so fired up and motivated because we were so disrespected. Miami has been disrespected for 20-plus years. Now, not all these guys grew up watching Miami or maybe weren't Miami fans, but they had to understand what was at stake this season. Miami has been bad for a very long time. So same thing. I don't think that they needed any extra disrespect. And it could absolutely fuel this team a little bit. But number one, also, I did play football. I played high school football. That's as far as I made it. I don't boast about it often because it's just high school football. But yes, Coop did have the pads on. Yes, I lost some very emotional games, some games that we felt like we should have won and we didn't. And you do have to try to learn from it. And I think the team can learn some things from the loss. But the issues that we saw were the same issues that we've been seeing week in and week out. So if some crazy, massive change was going to happen, if you want to point the finger at Guidry, then he should have already made it when we were having the close calls. Now, they ended up losing, and here we are. But I'm not all negative. I'm very happy, even with what's just happened so far. Miami's been putting up big numbers offensively, and it's been a fun season, and there's still plenty left to go. And I very much think that the ACC championship could be, heck, it could be Miami and SMU. And the good news there is that SMU is, I think most would agree, SMU's a little small. Yeah, they got Rhett Lashley, and I understand they're putting up big points, which is what we're worried about, myself included, with Miami's defense. And, we see now the offense cannot have an off day. They can't. It's got to be. They were averaging like 47 points per game. When you put up the kind of points you did against Georgia Tech and pair that with the defense, you're not going to win the game. It's a lot of pressure on the offense, but it just is what it is. It's what it's been all season. So I'd be very happy with that. And I think that Miami would stand a chance against SMU. It would be another shootout scenario, probably kind of like the Louisville game. And then you do take it one game at a time. When they get to the playoffs, you got to try to figure it out, you know? But I'm not super upset. I just wanted to come on here and explain a little bit more, maybe a bit more in depth. It's not the end of the world. This team is, I think, exactly what we thought they would be. The issues that they've been having continue to be an issue and will continue to be an issue. And you do have to hope that they learn a little bit from the loss. And maybe there are some guys out there. Maybe they come out and play a little bit harder. Maybe there is more sense of urgency. I just don't think those are the reasons why Miami lost the Georgia Tech game. I don't think that's why they were having the issues earlier in the season. I do think they were locked in. I do think the urgency was there. I think that they just have some areas where they need to work on some things, and they're trying their best, and you just have to deal with it. All teams have some areas where they're weak, and other teams try to exploit that, and it's part of the game. It's part of football, and you'll see some changes made in the offseason. I don't know if it's going to be coaching. I don't know if it's bringing in more transfer portal guys or, some other guys being healthy. That's just all I have to say. That's just still where I stand with this. I can't get behind, oh, well, the team needed to lose, because then let's say something happens and Miami loses to Wake Forest. So is the answer or the response, well, they needed to lose 2 games? Just let me know, your thoughts. Are you still optimistic? Are you positive about the season? I am. They've already just about overachieved when it comes to my realistic expectations. Haven't won the ACC ever. It's still in play. And if they make it, given the teams that I think it would be up against, I think that Miami would stand a chance. And to even make it into the college football playoffs would be wild. So I'm happy. I'm happy. It's not a shot. It's nothing personal. I'm just trying to be honest. Just trying to be real. But there's no negativity. It's just talking. Just grown-up conversation. Just talking about the team and what we think. I got nothing else. Remember, though, guys, we're all one big happy college football family, but at the end of the day, I got to say, it's always better when you get to rep the U. Coach Coop, peace out. I'll see you on the next one.